Now moving on to Defensive Player of the Year. So this one was a tough one to weigh up. Again, yeah, probably the Defensive Player of the Year award is probably one of the toughest because you see year in and year out guys that, again, not statistically showing up in bright lights with their block numbers and their steal numbers, but they end up winning. Like guys like Tyson Chandler, for example, they didn't have the most appealing stats from like a steals and blocks perspective, but what they did for their team as a defensive anchor probably cemented them. Same as Marc Gasol, guys like that. So this one was tough, but I'm going to have to give it to Brook Lopez this year. Again, it's debatable because I know that guys like Jaren Jackson are right up there, and Jaren Jackson's actually the favorite to win the award from a lot of bookmakers in the US. But for me, Brook Lopez, being that the Bucks are the best team in the East, one of the best records in the league, defensive anchor for that team in that drop coverage that they do play, for him to be able to block the amount of shots that he does, contest the amount of shots that he does, and help affect the trajectory of those shots that they don't go in. Even if they get the shot off, it's a bad shot a lot of the time because he's got the length right in your face. Pause. I just think what he brings in terms of structuring that defense. Again, I know you got guys like Giannis and Drew, which might discredit him as the defensive player of the year because basically they could make the argument and play devil's advocate and say, oh, look, you got Giannis and Drew Holiday, two elite defenders. Like, how is that not, or how does it make a justification for Brook to be the defensive player of the year? But I think him being leader of the total block shots, contesting the most shots in the league, and just, I guess, having that versatility to be able to come out to the perimeter when he needs to. He's not obviously known for that, but again, he can go out to the perimeter and contest and close out on shooters when he needs to. So I think what he's brought to that team and in the fact that he's done it in such a late stage of his career as well, I think that's the reason why I give him the award.
So my Defensive Player of the Year, I've gone the other way. I picked Jaren Jackson Jr. To me, Jaren's averaging 3.1 blocks per game with a steal. And I just think when you take him away from that Memphis team, we saw in those first 14 games, Memphis were around the 20 mark for defensive ranking. And when Jaren Jackson came back, for a large portion of the season, they were actually first with Jaren Jackson. And although that's declined and they're around top 6 now, I just think that Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defensive impact is just as good as Brook Lopez or higher. All he has to do is stay out of foul trouble, and I think he's good. But yeah, recently he's been getting into a lot of foul trouble. But ultimately, I mean, he leads the league in blocks. His defensive rating as well, he leads the league in that. And defensive win shares, which is another thing he leads the league in. So, look, he plays around 27 to 28 minutes a night, which sometimes is largely due to him being in foul trouble. But you could use this argument that Jaren Jackson, what he's actually doing is pretty historic because nobody ever who logs under 30 minutes played a night has won the Defensive Player of the Year, except for Michael Cooper, who won like 36 years ago. So, yeah, I think what Jaren Jackson's been able to do this season is very impressive, and I got him.
I think it's
the Defensive Player of the Year.
It's definitely a pretty safe pick. I mean, you could make the argument that Brook Lopez pick's pretty safe as well, seeing as though that a lot of the, I mean, like I said, it's tough to make the case. I guess like how you played devil's advocate with me with Jalen Brunson and Larry Markkinen, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I could say that, yes, he's having the impact in the time that he is on the court, but as a true defensive anchor and as a guy that really needs to be there for his team defensively, you can't have a guy like that getting consistently into foul trouble the way he does, because again, if he's not on the floor, no matter how good he is in those 28 minutes, if he's not on the floor for the remaining, let's say 8 to 10 minutes extra that he could be on the floor, that could be the difference between the Grizzlies winning a playoff series or winning a key playoff game and the difference between them being eliminated, you know what I mean, or reaching the finals. So to me, his impact is unquestionable, and it's, you know, undisputed in my eyes. Like, I think he's hands down been an amazing defender this year. But again, if you really want to be known to be the defensive player of the year, you need to be on the court. And no matter how productive you are in such a short period of time that you are on the NBA floor, you need to be there for your team in the late stages of the game. And if you're fouling out in the start of the fourth quarter, or like in the third quarter, or, you know, halfway through the fourth quarter, you're not there for those clutch moments, and that could cost your team a title going down the stretch.
No, 100%. No, what you said there, more than valid. I 100% agree. But yeah, no, I literally cannot argue with anything you just said there. You're spot on.
Like I said, I do.
I've used the Michael Cooper
Yeah,
thing.
that's like I said.
That's like my case, but
I don't.
It's not like it is. Yeah, what you said is valid.
I don't think
like,
personally that whatever you said to justify Jaren Jackson's case was great. I was just being playing devil's advocate. You know what I mean? But again, in the sense that what he has done when he's on the court, it's unheard of, especially like you said, the last 30 years for a guy to not. For no guys to be able to do that and win Defensive Player of the Year with that kind of production, it speaks volumes about his ability on the defensive side, and the fact that he's so young, he's only going to get better as well.